welcome back. This is Become a Bat, your chronological look through Batman through the ages. I'm your host, Tom,
And I'm Mike.
and today we are going to go right into Batman number 8. Finally, like we're already at the 8th issue. It gets confusing with the terminology, I swear.
It does, but it's our own fault.
Yeah. And then Detective Comics number 61. And this was a pretty fun pair of stories. Nothing really monumental like last week, I would say, but
Yeah.
pretty solid capers.
I liked them both a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, these ones were a little more creative than usual, I'd say.
for sure.
Yeah, nothing too straightforward. But yeah. Okay. Is there anything else I need to say? I can't remember. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. If so, I'll come back to it.
All right.
All right, so let's go straight into Batman number 8. So this is Batman number 8, story 1. We're finally in January of 1942 for Batman. We've been in 1942 for the Detective Comics, just slightly ahead. This is, let's see, this is called Stone Walls Do Not a Prison Make. Art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, George Roussos, and written by Bill Finger. Let's talk about this cover.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely an iconic Batman cover, one that I've seen many, many times, and we even recreated it with Photoshop.
Yeah, we were trying to. I think we definitely need to take another stab at it. We need like a larger comic. Mm-hmm. Well, let's describe it before we even get into it. But
All right. Do you want to describe it or me? This is
you go for it. You go for it.
So it's a dark red cover that fades to a lighter red as it goes down. And it's a very simple cover. It's just one solid color background. And then you have Batman and Robin in the foreground holding a Batman comic book with an identical cover to the one they're on. And it's like that picture in a picture in a picture thing.
Very recursive.
Yeah, where it's just like they're holding a comic of them holding a comic of them holding a comic. And they're just grinning like idiots.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very classic cover. They it's definitely kind of showing more of that campy tone that this series is heading towards.
Yeah, and I think this cover is starting, it's like telling you, hey, there's like a level of self-awareness involved here now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just like Bob Kane getting his like ideas and his weird fetishes and stuff out onto paper. It's like more than that.
Yeah, it's got to definitely. I don't know if like Superman at this point. I don't think Superman at this point is like really lightened up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it will be there, but like Golden Age Superman, at least for like a while, seems to be more in a serious place. But this Batman's kind of like softening up.
Hey, Superman may have come first, but
Yeah.
Batman always leads the pack when it comes to change.
Yeah, that is
He's
true.
always the first one to change. He's the most resilient character, and he's the most adaptable.
Yeah, Superman does definitely change, but it seems that it takes a lot to change Superman.
Yeah, I think he's a harder character to write because he's more powerful. But,
No,
you know,
so
ooh, the splash page.
yeah, let's do this splash page. This is a really cool splash page. I mean, they're
If you want to go for the splash page, that's fine. I'll do mine on my issue.
okay. So like it's doing the thing with the super large villain, and tiny Batman again. But it's basically got our villain, Big Mike Russo, and he's holding up the prison like it's an island prison, and he's holding it up, and he's gigantic, and like you can see all of, like the rubble coming from underneath it.
It's like he's ripping it out of the ocean.
Yeah, and Batman and Robin are, they're not swimming, but they're on a boat, like a little tiny boat, and they're pointing a spotlight at him as they're going by.
Yep.
And then, what the stuff coming, like all the debris coming off of the bottom, the base of the prison reminds me of?
Superman Returns.
I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking, I can't remember. There's like a piece of artwork where, like, it's like a lot of like skeletons, kind of like turning into like a base of like some kind of like landmass.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what it's called.
Yes, I don't know. It reminds me of that. Really grim.
Yeah.
And then within the dialogue of the splash page, it's like it's a gravestone. Mm-hmm. Really cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. But because I don't want to spoil the plot or anything, but it involves men in prison potentially there for life.
Yeah,
So I think that's why the gravestone.
Yeah. And of course, they're going, no, that's a spoiler. All right. So you want to read this one?
Of course.
All right.
Every so often, from the criminal. That's so. Okay. Well, let me start over. Every so often, from the criminal spawn of the. What the? This is a bad
It's
one.
a one phrase.
Every so often, from the criminal spawn of the big city, there rises a figure so evil, so powerful, so cunning, that society's greatest efforts to bring him to justice are futile. But what happens when steel doors confine this man in gray prison walls? This man with a vicious criminal organization behind him? And what happens when he pits his villainy against the Batman and Robin? What happens then is a story worth telling. And there it is. It is called Stone Walls Do Not a Prison Make.
You got it in the end.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. All right. So now that we got that done, let's get into the synopsis. My iPad can let me make the words smaller. There we go. Okay. The story begins with the headline: Batman nabs Big Mike Russo with proof of crime SARS activities. Russo is a fat, big-time gangster. The judge just threw 20 years at Russo, but he doesn't seem the least bit upset. In prison, Russo begins his plan. The prison warden gets in his car on his way to prison one morning when the chauffeur pulls a gun on him and drives to a different location. He's tied up and watches helplessly as the gangsters use makeup to create a fake warden. The fake warden arrives with some fake guards. They gather the real guards and they threaten to kill the real ones if they don't play along. They even shoot one that tries to escape. So Russo goes to death row and he tells them that they'll let them free if they all go out and do jobs for him. Within a week, Big Mike Russo is living large in the big house as chaos reigns in Gotham City.
Every time you say Big Mike Russo, I want to be like, Big Mike.
I think that same thing. Sometime later, Bruce Wayne is out and about when he sees a car with a movie camera pull up to a bank. They ask the guards if they could film a bank robbery for a movie. Just then, a few bank robbers come out and start shooting the guards. Bruce thinks that the robbery looked a little too realistic. He puts on his bat suit and he gets right to work. The gunmen get away, but Batman recognizes one of them as someone who's supposed to be in prison. He tells Gordon about it, and Gordon thinks it's impossible. They go to the prison, and they find that the guy is indeed still at the prison. Batman sees Russo there, and he notices that his shoes are just a little too fancy for a prisoner.
Big Mike.
Batman asks Gordon if he can become a prisoner himself. So the next day, under heavy makeup, Batman poses as a prisoner. He gets Russo's attention and is invited out on a job. So Batman writes a hidden message on a baseball and he hits it over the prison walls where Robin catches it. That night, Bruce and the gangsters are at a warehouse to do the job, and the heat of the lamp starts to melt Bruce's face. The lights go off and Batman and Robin appear when they turn back on. They fight the gangsters but are overwhelmed. Batman gets knocked out and he wakes up in a prison cell. Russo plans on executing Batman in the gas chamber. He forces Robin to serve him his last meal. Batman eats it, but then complains about an upset stomach. He begs Russo for some Burpo antacids. So he lets Robin go and get him some antacids.
Felt like a commercial a little bit, didn't it?
It did. I like Burpo. I liked it. So later they take Batman to the gas chamber. They tie Batman down to the chair and they drop the cyanide tablets. The gas fizzles in the chamber and Batman appears to be dead. They drag his body out, but suddenly he springs to life. It turns out he had Robin swap the cyanide tablets with the harmless antacid tablets. Batman and Robin fight Russo's men and the prisoners inside. Batman and Robin put up a good fight, but they nearly get overwhelmed. In an act of desperation, Robin pulls out a bucket of water and holds the real cyanide tablets over it, threatening to drop them and kill everyone if they don't get back in their cells. This works. Order is restored in the prison system. The end.
All it took was a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, however old he is,
Yeah.
threatening everybody's lives.
Right.
And they're like, okay.
That was like a very abrupt ending, I feel. Like,
Yeah. No,
really, ooh.
I like how shocked they all are while he's like shaking that tablet in his hand, like, I'm going to kill you all.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Of course he will.
Yeah, that just very grim.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking the whole time I read this?
Hmm.
Big Mike could easily have just been the Penguin.
He could have been, but I don't like they didn't. I don't know. He
He's
could
even got the cigar and everything. Like,
see. I was thinking he's more of like a proto Wilson Fisk.
yeah, he does look like him. He wears
Yeah.
like the purple and he smokes a cigar and he's bald and everything.
Because there's nothing like really like gentlemanly about this caper.
Yeah,
He's just using it as like a way to like, exploit the prison system, and that like other than just being kind of like a guy who like wants riches. I don't myself don't really see him as much of a Penguin stand-in.
I don't mean necessarily like his motivations. I
Yeah.
just mean like the fact that he's like this criminal who other criminals respond to, and he gets his way no matter what. Like they could have made this a Penguin story, but they would have had to write it differently. But it
Yeah.
felt very much like something Penguin would do. You know?
I'm gonna have to disagree because there's no like he wants an air of legitimacy, and I don't think Big Mike cared.
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Maybe the Penguin right now wants to be legitimized, but
Yeah.
Penguin, like in the comics for the most part,
Maybe.
is willing to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to have non-Rogues Gallery villains, but I just miss them when we don't see them around and we're just
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
They introduced Penguin. We got him in 2 stories so far,
and then boom, gone.
and he's gone. But he is so good those first 2 times. So yeah, I'm definitely jonesing for more.
They're probably doing that on purpose so that you're just like, when are we gonna get another cool cartoon character villain?
I think also, well, I think we're in 1942, and isn't that when the newspaper strip started?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I know he's being used in the newspaper strip right now. I think
They probably have rules where they can't use them in both or something, and they have to kind of bounce the characters back and forth.
maybe they did that back then too, because that was a thing back with
Yeah.
the cartoon, the Batman, and why they couldn't use certain characters within that and Justice League Unlimited at the
'Cause
time.
they have no faith in fans to understand that things have separate continuities, even though comic books are all about separate continuities.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if DC was weird about that even back then.
Probably. All right. You want to
Let me see.
do you have any other thoughts about it? I mean, I like this one a lot. I
Yeah.
think we pretty much,
It's nice to see Batman and Gordon meeting together like it's a regular thing.
yeah, as if they've been doing it all along.
Yeah. I think him hanging out with Bruce Wayne is like over. And let's see. And then last time we had Batman like, go to the prison. He had to
Mhm.
come up with that weird plan of like kidnapping the dude, putting him to sleep.
Yeah.
This time, like since he's like an unofficial official cop, he's like, "Hey Gordon, let's go to the prison. I gotta check it out." So like he doesn't even need like an excuse to break
No,
in. He doesn't
no.
have to.
I thought that was really cool. I loved seeing him walk through the prison and all the people behind the bars like, "Boo, Batman!" Boo.
Yeah.
It felt like the Batman movie.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, like where he's in the police station or like when he's in the prison. Like it
Yeah.
it feels realistic. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love Batman like sneaking around and being like an urban legend, but I also
Yeah.
really like Batman just being a guy.
Yeah, I like him. I like there's like 3 variations. I like when he's like, an urban legend and no one knows.
Mm-hmm.
I like when he's really public and everyone knows. And I like when he's sort of a 50-50 mix where people know he's real, but they don't really get a good look at him for the most part unless they're like law enforcement or criminals.
Yeah,
So people are still kind of afraid of him, which is what I think that movie did so well.
Yeah.
Like kind of bridge that gap there a little bit.
mm-hmm.
But I also love, well, I'll get into that when I get to the panel.
Yeah, and I also really like Batman complaining about the upset stomach. Like that was just that whole like sequence of him like forcing Robin to serve him food is just
Mhm.
it's very comedic to me. I think.
It reminded me of like one of those Mad TV fake commercials.
Yeah.
I could hear like music playing in the background. He's like, "Why don't you give me one of those Burpo antacid tablets, Robin?"
mm-hmm.
And then Robin's like, "What the hell's going on?"
Oh yeah. Overall, though, also in general, I mean, we're about to talk about the panels, but I feel like and we were talking about this before we recorded, but I felt like the art in this one was pretty weak.
Yeah, you said that, but I actually found it kind of charming. I know
can't-
it is weak, but
I mean, I can't tell if it's because of like the recent coloration and the scanning, or if it's just because like they were rushed when they made it. I do feel like we had better looking art. Like it kind of looks more closer to some of like the first like year where they're still getting the grips.
yeah, it looks a little more amateurish,
Yeah.
but it's still a lot more put together than most.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of subtle little things in here that I liked a lot, and some of it's even in the panels we chose. I didn't pick any panels. Well, I guess I did pick a couple because of their subtlety, but I'll get into that.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of the panels, but yeah, the first panel I chose, I think it has like the best art in the whole issue, and it's not even of Batman and Robin. It's really creative. It's Big Mike. He's just smoking a cigar, and it's just like this really close up shot of him, and you see a lot of detail on how like sleazy he looks.
He looks like Bugsy Malone or something.
Yeah, and there's smoke coming out of the cigar itself, and two clouds coming out from both sides of his mouth that he's blowing out. And within the smokes of the cloudy smokes of smokes of cloud,
cloudy
whatever,
smokes of
whatever, in the smoke clouds,
yeah.
like one of them, we see like the images. It's like a montage of all the chaos that he's having, done in his name, while he's inside the prison. There's a bank robbery, a guy coming out of a window with like a bag full of, I'm guessing, money and valuables. You see cop cars chasing one of their cars. It's really creative.
I think because you always pick these panels. I think you have like this thing for the panels that revolve around one central person's head, and it shows like a story happening on one page.
Yeah.
You've picked like 5 of them so far. They're all really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one a lot too.
Yeah, this one's probably one of my favorite, just because like how like the sleaze factor, and
Yeah,
like,
it
a
looks
lot
like
of times
he's just basking in it right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times those are fun because but it's just like a random circle.
Yeah.
This one plays more into it uses the creativity of like the smoke clouds of his cigar to really add to the crime and the sleaze. I don't know, it's really good.
No, it's definitely sleazy. It's a character based one, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the expression on his face. He's just like overjoyed that all this is happening and that it's his fault.
Yeah, it says a lot right then and there who he is.
Yeah.
And let's see the next one. The next panel I chose is just a nice little dynamic panel of Robin jumping down and hitting a couple guys. But I liked his pose.
He's not really hitting the guy. Did you notice what he's doing?
He's pulling his tie.
Well, one guy chucked a box at him, and he ducks, and then he pulls the other guy's tie so that the box hits the other guy in the face.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little complex, but it's good.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of something like a Street Fighter pose or something.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, like that cover to Street Fighter 2.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like that totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the like small details that I found a lot of in this issue that I like is like in the background right there between the guy who threw the box and Robin. You've got the plaster on the wall breaking and the bricks exposed underneath.
Yeah,
that's cool. Little stuff like that.
That is nice.
There's also like wood paneling on the floor, whereas before in the older comics, like you were saying, like it would have just been like one solid color. But they're so much better now with the shading and the shadows and like the little things like the negative lines like on the box where it's in darkness.
Yeah. No, I guess now I'm leaning towards maybe like the coloring and something about the restoration, maybe kind of.
I do think it has something to do with the
decreasing the
restoration.
quality.
Like they were rushing to get this one, it's like done so they could get that next volume out.
It's not really like a super well known story, so
no, but it's good.
Like they must have been like whatever. Not to diminish anybody's work on it.
I enjoy it.
Yep.
It's definitely not the best, but it's not the worst either.
So the next one's the 2-panel sequence of Batman being tied up to the chair. Just because I like how calm he is in the face of a real like a really gross thing. Like I mean, he's often put in like death traps and all that. Usually the villains kind of put him in the death trap and they walk away. And the formula Batman and Robin, they find a way to break free. But like this is a real life execution chamber.
Right, in a real prison.
Yeah, in a real prison. So like
it's a good thing they decided to gas him and not electrocute him.
Yeah. Well, they would have come up with some clever way to
probably, but that seems a little harder to fake.
I'm kind of thinking maybe like if it was electric chair, he would have somebody would have reversed some breakers or something so that like the guy pulling the lever would have like been electrocuted or something like that.
That would have been funny though to see him fake getting electrocuted. Just have to be like,
yeah,
instead of just like fake pass out.
After that, I chose basically the ending with Robin threatening to drop the tablets. They call them eggs, like the cyanide eggs and the antacid eggs. I don't know if that was just the phrasing, because when you see eggs, like I imagine it would be like much larger, but like you see them in Robin's hand there, and they're like beans.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been saying tablets, but
yeah, they're like little capsules.
Yeah.
I think they call them eggs because like an egg hides something inside of it.
Yeah. Well, so does a capsule. A capsule is like the little plastic thing with the little.
They just that wasn't like a word back then, or maybe that wasn't a common word.
Maybe. But yeah, I just love this that like Batman and Robin, they are about to get overwhelmed and die. So they're like, fuck it, we're gonna kill everybody if we do die. We'll threaten them.
Yep,
it's great. So
and I love how that guy drops the gun too.
Yeah, it's like you better just drop it. You're done. And then you know what? They didn't have to like take them very far. They're already all in prison.
I picked this first panel. It's a two-parter. It doesn't really need to be a two-parter. I just put it in there for context, so when I'm explaining it, I understand. But
Right.
it's where Big Mike is like giving his speech to like all the inmates and stuff, basically, and he's just like, "Stay with me, and then you're gonna be eating out of gold plates. You're gonna live like kings, you know."
Yeah.
And then one of the guards is like, "No, you can't use me." And then he doesn't even say anything. He just like turns his back and walks away, and then like the other cop turns around and shoots that cop dead.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "That's what happens to quitters." It's dark.
It's really dark. The guy had a spine. He died. and
Yeah.
It's not even clear. Well, I think it's probably more like there was one of his men that did it
Yeah, I
rather
think
than
it-
one of the turncoats.
Because there is, he has one of his thugs dress up like a cop or whatever at
Yeah,
one point.
yeah.
So I think that's what it is.
So the overall like demeanor of the fake ones is different than the real ones.
Yeah. I know. Like the fake one's got like his arms behind his back and everything because he's holding a gun, whereas like
Yeah.
the other one's got his arm out and present in front of him.
And then the fake one in both panels has his like face covered in a shadow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's another little detail right there that I'm
Yeah.
talking about, because that kind of creates that like uneasiness, like
Yeah.
you can't trust this guy because you can't see his face. This panel that I picked here next to is another one. Like this is just a really subtle like scenery one. It's not like anything is really happening, but I like it a lot because it's Big Mike standing like on the prison dock, like where the ships come in,
Mm-hmm.
and like he's in the middle ground, and in the foreground it's just like a rounded column of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the background, you have like the boat pulling up to the dock with the people on it. And then there's like, it kind of looks like there's like a lighthouse or something. It's kind of hard to tell, like in the far background,
Yeah.
shining a beacon around. And it casts like shadows of Big Mike on the ground, and then like everyone on the boat is silhouetted. It's really moody,
Yeah.
and it just feels like something bad's about to happen.
It definitely has that extra like eeriness to it too, because like
Yeah.
this is basically a free ticket to escape, but like he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, he doesn't want to escape, so which makes it even like weirder and creepier.
Yep. I picked this one, for obvious reasons, because it's Batman, just kind of like lunging forward and being cool looking and stuff. This is the artwork you were talking about here, though, where it's like it's missing a lot of details. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
sharp edges. There's some outlines missing, and it's a lot of like spottiness.
Mm-hmm. That's what's getting at.
Yeah. But I don't know. I love these little simple panels like this. I used to have a whole folder in one of my phones it was like 200 pictures by the time I had been reading all these Batman comics, and all it was little panels like this, where it's just like the epitome of Batman.
Yeah.
Because it says slipping into an alley, Bruce peels off his outer clothing and becomes, and then he himself says the Batman is going to do a little investigating. It's really cheesy and really simple, but like it's stuff like that when people read it that either don't read a lot of comics or don't read a lot of Batman, they're just like, yeah, Batman.
Yeah, the typical Batman.
You got to have poses like that or panels like that in every issue, at least one.
The bat symbol's like way too tiny on this one.
Yeah, it really is. But I love this next panel too because it's the direct follow-up to the first one. So it just makes it that much better because he's not just like running out of the alleyway to do some investigating. He's full on sprinting towards a moving vehicle while he's being shot at.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Yeah, and he catches up to it and he decks the guy in the face. Like hard enough to knock his hat off and knock his handkerchief off his face. So I thought that
And-
was pretty cool.
Got close enough to recognize him as somebody who was in the prison.
Yeah. This next one I picked because, like I said before, it's Batman walking through the prison corridor with all the prisoners like yelling at him and booing him and stuff. And he's walking with Commissioner Gordon and with the warden, right?
Yeah, the fake warden.
The fake
Fake warden's in the green.
And the warden's in between them, which you'd think would be like a precarious position because you're between two law enforcement officials. And I just love the way Batman is drawn here because he seems a little reserved. He's got his cape thrown over half of his body.
He looks uneasy.
Yeah, he does look uneasy. His body language is kind of like
Yeah.
shining through. Same with Gordon. Gordon's got both of his hands in his pockets.
I
And
feel
he's like-
I feel Gordon's more like casual. Like he's like whatever. Like we're gonna find the guy. He's here. Like he's confident that the guy's here.
Yeah, but he's also like fully buttoned up, his trench coat.
Might
And
be-
he's got his hat on. He never keeps the hat on. He's always like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe it's just cold. And also, he's just like he's in prison. This is business, and all these guys want to kill him. So
yeah.
like, not that he's afraid, but it's like, yeah, I better just keep my cool here and look stern.
Yeah. It could be an accident that all these things come together, but I feel like it's just really interesting to see how the two of them are drawn really reserved, and then the warden is drawn like very expressively. He's talking a lot. His hands are out. You
Yeah.
know, he's using exclamation points, right? So
Yeah, the warden might also be Well, he's got Batman and Gordon fooled, so I don't think he's like overacting.
No,
But he's definitely
feels a
like
little more
he's
casual.
playing, he's casual, he's playing the part. He wants to play it cool.
yeah. Of course, I picked this next panel too.
Yeah,
It's such a horror movie moment.
Yeah, it makes me think of Clayface.
Yeah, definitely Clayface. Yeah, I would even say the Joker to some degree, like when he puts on like the skin colored face paint and then it wipes off and they see that he's the Joker.
Yeah,
It's just so cool to see that coming from Bruce Wayne. His mortician's wax on his face is melting, and he totally looks like Clayface.
right. Yeah, like that. That must have been hot too. Like, I hope he has his like, the cowl on underneath, so it's not burning his skin.
Oh, he must have, because he always somehow is able to just like become Batman right away when he gets his disguises on.
He's able to have like realistic makeup on over his face, over his cowl.
Or maybe the cowl is like it can like fold back, and like hide under his shirt, and then he can pull it over.
Yeah.
Either way. But yeah, and then the next panel, it's an action scene, but it's a cool one. It's just, I like a lot of these too, especially when you have Batman and Robin both in the panels and they're both decking people at the same time. And I just like how Robin's like, oh boy, oh boy.
Yep, it's fun.
Well, he's beating up on the guys.
He's like been just on recon duty like for the last day. He's like he's aching for fight.
I picked the same one about the drop your guns or you're all dead men.
Yeah,
why not? And then this last one, I'm surprised you didn't pick this one too. It's so somber and just like it's Batman being walked to his doom.
Yeah, but I mean, he's walked to his doom. He's actually playing it up because he knows he's not gonna die.
I know, but like this one specifically, it's so dark. You can barely make out any details whatsoever. The only things you can really see are Batman and these two cops walking him towards the gas chamber, pointing guns at him.
Yeah, and they get the lights up there.
Yeah,
I like how the gas chamber is like it's got a sign that says gas chamber.
Gas chamber. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break and go into Detective Comics number 61. So, Detective Comics number 61. This was an excellent issue.
I agree.
Yeah, I think of the two, I liked mine a lot, but I think you got the better one this time.
They were both good, but I definitely would put this one more in the category of we got to come up like a name for this category, but like that slice of life stories, like the oh shoot, what's this called? I'm having such a brain fart right now. The
Almost
Most
Got
Wanted.
'Em?
Yeah, that one too. But like all of those other issues that we liked a lot, where it followed like some random criminal.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
I
know
would
what
say
you're
this
talking
is
about.
kind of in that category, but it also reminds me of Batman the Animated Series a lot.
Yeah, well, definitely feels that. I mean, we're gonna save that for our thoughts, I'm sure, but
We'll talk more about it.
yeah, this has the same formula as a very, very. I don't know if we'd call it one of the best episodes, but definitely one of the most well known episodes of Batman the animated series.
Which one are you talking about?
Almost Got Him.
Yeah, it also feels a lot like The Legends of the Dark Knight, except it's from the perspective of kids instead of criminals.
Yeah,
Like a group of people sitting around talking about the character, and then it cutting into their individual like experiences, and then cutting back to them.
yeah,
Yeah, I love stories like that.
yeah. This was a really good one.
Yeah.
So let me describe the cover. The cover and the splash. It's actually one of those times where the cover and the splash page are the same exact thing. They just like redrew it. I can't remember when they've done it before. It's been a while, but like they've done that in the past where it's just
Must
the
have
same.
only happened like once or twice, because
Yeah.
to me it stuck out as being like the first time, but I must have missed it.
It's not very common, but they've done it. But it's another one where like we get the giants looking over like the small things, but Batman and Robin are the giants this time. And they're like it's got like the gigantic Batman, and he's like standing, and he's like kind of holding like himself against a building, and it's like a corner diner, which you were telling me reminded you of the diner scene from the Batman movie where they catch the Riddler.
Definitely.
Robin is on the foreground corner looking, and they both kind of look confused because in it we have a tank, we have a plane, we have a car tipped over,
There's like gasoline coming out of it.
gasoline coming out of it. It's just a scene of chaos. Like there's something that crashed into the diner.
Yeah, it looks like a semi truck.
Yeah, it is a semi. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a semi truck. So there's just a lot of chaos, and Batman is confused. So I think it's kind of implying that there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in this issue, and it's not clickbait. A lot of these things do happen.
I gotta say, I like the cover more than the splash page, even though they're basically the same. But the splash page adds all these little details. Like it adds a Batman face onto the side of the bat plane.
Yeah,
It adds like bullet lines coming out of it. And it has like the name of the department store on the store. And then there's like cops standing in the street shooting. So like there's a couple cool little elements added in that just make it look more interesting and dynamic.
yeah. The lighting is a little bit like better on it. They put the dialogue within the cloud there, and the
yeah.
plane kind of like has the whoosh to it. So
You know
it's
what else I
different.
really like about it?
Huh?
How at the top of the page where it says Batman with Robin,
Yeah,
the logo is like black and the page, like the sky is black. So all you see is like the little striations between the wings and the head's like floating there.
yeah. So let me read this one. Let's see if I can get it. This is a story of three of a kind, of a trio of rogues who formed a triple threat against law and order so that crime would pay. The Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder, find perilous 3-star adventure when they clash with this that's a difficult word, triumphative of trouble and smash a tri-terror combine in the saga of the Three Racketeers.
How do you say that?
Triumvirate?
Triumvirate?
It's a word I've seen. It's one of those words I've read more than I've actually said out loud. It's not a very common word.
It must be like 3 people or something because
Yeah.
that's the only way it would make sense there.
I mean, they're playing up the threes in this one,
Yeah, definitely.
which I'm surprised we don't have a villain based on threes. 3 is a magic number. So, you want to get into the synopsis?
Sure. I mean, yeah, duh. Our story begins in a small room where 3 men are playing cards. They're trying to one-up each other and play things off like they're big-time racketeers, until one of them mentions the Batman. Once he is mentioned, all 3 men become agitated and decide to share their stories about how the Batman ruined their operations. First up is crafty Cal Clate. He goes on to describe how he and his men would tap into the police radio band and send phony radio calls to distract them and trick them into going to the wrong locations while they robbed their targets. The cops would try desperately to find the source of the radio transmission, but their leads always led to dead ends. It turns out that Crafty Cal was running his radio broadcast out of the back of a van. Since it was mobile, the police could never trace its exact location. Next, his men would start dropping smoke bombs all over town to set off fire alarms, to create even more distraction and confusion. Unfortunately for Cal and his men, they didn't realize that Batman had a Batmobile. The speed of the Batmobile meant that Batman was able to zoom around town and check in on every single distraction and still have time to track down the real heist. Cal and his men were busy trying to break out into a jewelry store when the dynamic duo pull in with their car. They hop out and start pummeling Cal and his men. The tables are turned, though, and the Cape Crusaders find themselves beaten down with pistol butts and knocked unconscious. The gangsters flee, and our heroes awaken from their stupor. Batman recognized one of the men's faces. He recognized Crafty Cal himself and looks his home address up in the phone book. The next night when Cal gets home to his place, it looks like it's been ransacked. There's a small gift box sitting on his foyer table. Cal opens it up, and a live bat flutters out and frightens him half to death. The Batman was there. Cal, in a panic, goes directly to the spot where he hides his backup secret radio code book and makes sure that it's still safe. Then he puts it back and leaves the apartment, and Batman and Robin emerge from a closet and take the code book for themselves.
He's really lucky that he didn't check the closet.
Oh, he just would have got punched in the face.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it saved himself some pain.
Yeah. All right, where was I? That very night, when Cal sends out the radio signal for his men to rob the fur shop, Batman and Robin intercept the call and meet the men there. They hop out and start brawling again, but this time there's no stopping them. They take down the entire gang and Cal himself, putting an end to his whole operation.
Wah, wah.
You actually have that sound button.
I do.
You could use that 3 times in this one.
We need a third person to just work
push buttons.
the machine. Oh, of course.
Try it again.
Yeah.
Here, let me say what I said and then do it.
All right.
Putting an end to his whole operation. There you go.
Yep.
You'll have 2 more opportunities for that.
I do.
We cut back to the round table, where the 3 racketeers are swapping stories. Next up is Professor Post, a diabolical scientist. He invented a serum that makes men lazy. By the way, this guy is messed up. Like, this could have been its whole own issue, this guy and his serum. Yeah. All right.
I almost feel like maybe this was like scraps of ideas, and they're like,
Probably.
none of these are good enough to fill a whole issue.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Yeah, let's just put them all together.
Yeah.
Next day at the busy Gotham Stock Exchange office, the head of the operation, Mr. Charters, mysteriously doubles over in the middle of a big meeting. All the other men are freaked out and worried, not just for his safety, but also for the large sums of money that they are going to lose out on for every hour that Charters is uncommunicable. Just then, the Professor Post, barges into the room and explains that he has drugged Charters' lunch, and if they want him to be normal again, then they better pay him for the antidote. And if they don't pay, within 3 days, Charters will eventually become too lazy to eat or breathe, and he will die. The men pay him. Were you going to say something?
No, I just think the whole thing is like, it's a very specific drug. I don't know.
It just makes you so lazy, give up on life.
Yeah.
Yeah. The men pay him, and he heads home to prepare the antidote to mail to them. It's messed up. Why didn't you just give it to them on the spot? Come on.
That and also just like, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways he could have done this drug,
I know.
but I just like, it's a lazy drug.
Yeah. Before he even has a chance, the Batman breaks down his front door and assaults him. They fight briefly, but then Post pulls a gun on Batman and forces him to drink a vial of the lazy serum. The Dark Knight immediately begins to feel tired and lazy and loses motivation to fight crime. He slumps down in a chair, defeated, and Professor Post takes off for the brokerage company, leaving our vigilante hero nothing more than a couch potato.
That's good. That's
Yep.
good.
Luckily, Batman has a very strong will and is able to use his boot radio to place a call to Robin and tell him what's going on. On his way out of the brokerage building with his money, a young boy stops him and offers to polish his shoes. The boy is Robin in disguise, and he shines his shoes with the same infrared chemical coating that he and Batman use to track each other down when they go missing. I freaking love that, by the way. They finally bring that back, and they bring it back as a way to hunt down a villain.
Yeah.
Great. He puts on his infrared glasses and follows the professor home, where after seeing Batman tied up at the professor's mercy, the boy wonder bursts in and beats him to a pulp. When he wakes up, Batman is up and moving around, and the serum has worn off. They revealed to him that they were able to track him with the specially treated shoe shine wax, and then they take him in and put an end to his racket. Wah, wah, wah. There we go. We cut back to the 3 racketeers again. Now, the third man, a yet to be named, actually never to be named, mob enforcer, tells his story.
It's annoying when they don't do that.
I know. He and his men stole 3 army tanks and went around robbing bank after bank. Batman finally caught on and used his Batplane to do some flybys. He had Robin toss jars of flammable liquid out onto the tanks, and then followed that up with some flares or torches. Suddenly, the insides of the tanks became like ovens, and all the mobsters were forced to flee out of the tanks or be roasted alive. As they emerged from the tanks, they produced a huge anti-aircraft gun, which they used to shoot the Batplane out of the sky. The Caped Crusaders are forced to land it in the ocean, and then they move. I don't know what I was trying to write there. Anyways, they're forced to land in the ocean and make their way back to the harbor, where they commandeer a police motorcycle with a sidecar, which also is awesome. They catch back up to the mobsters in the motorcycle and trail them all the way to the hideout while dodging bullets the whole way. The mobsters barricade themselves in their hideout, but it makes no difference because Batman and Robin crash through the barricaded doors at top speed on their motorcycle, completely destroying it. That cop's never getting it back.
Nope.
Then they start throwing tear gas and punches, and they make short work of the men. Yeah.
You're closer to it. You could have got it.
I know. We cut back to the room with the 3 racketeers one last time. Now it's finally revealed that they have actually been in a holding cell awaiting their sentencing. A cop comes in to break them up and take them each to their own individual cells. They say goodbye and part ways, and the cop laughs to himself about how dumb these criminals are for even attempting to outsmart the Batman. The end.
Yeah, that was a really fun issue.
Yeah, I thought it was fun too.
I kind of feel like, well, at least they got, at least, you know what? They have prison friends now. You know what?
Right.
They're not
That's what
going
I
in
was thinking.
alone.
They're gonna like write each other prison letters and stuff.
Hopefully they get like joining cells.
Yeah, maybe.
What? Yeah, this definitely had to be the inspiration for Almost Got 'Em, since it's the same formula.
Yeah,
It's three criminals specifically talking about their run-ins with the Batman. It's a little different in the episode because
Yeah.
I mean it's Rogues Gallery, and
right.
they're talking about times they specifically nearly killed Batman. This is just times where Batman got them.
But they definitely. There's no way this isn't some kind of inspiration.
Yeah, like this definitely was something in the back the back of their minds.
Yeah, well, especially because it's probably right in the forefront.
Right in the
Because
forefront, yeah.
Bruce Timm and Paul Dini are both huge Golden Age Batman fans.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of references to these old stories.
Yep. So
And-
I had no idea that there was even like an issue like this.
Yeah, neither did I. Because it's not like people talk about it. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's not a classic issue, but it's great. It's a good one.
Yeah. One thing we briefly talked about this before, but like when we like reached like a new year or like we find like a season ending for the show, we should drop a list online of like the greatest hits of that last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
people could just like read those issues and get like all the best stories.
Yeah. It takes us a little bit longer to get through a year than I thought. So yeah, that's definitely something we can compile. One thing I was thinking too, like I couldn't think of anything for the third one, but now that I like listened to your thing and thought about it, I did finally find a placement for it. So each criminal, their plan really reminds me of like a throwback to, not a specific throwback, but like the general like kinds of Batman stories we've had.
Yeah.
So the first one, he's like the typical mobster.
Right.
You know, he's got a mob plan, and that's his mob, you know, racketeering.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is a throwback to like the classic mad scientists.
Yep. Like Hugo Strange.
Hugo Strange,
Professor Hugo Strange.
Doctor Death.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I'm like, hey, it's just more of another typical gangster one. But I mean, his plan involves like tanks and army stuff, and
Yeah, he's
we
like
have
a
the bat
terrorist.
the bat plane. Yeah, so he's more of like the world on a much smaller scale, but like he's kind of a throwback to like the world domination style villains.
It's
that
pretty
Batman's
funny
fought.
though. He's got the biggest ambitions of all, but he gets stopped the quickest.
Yeah, yeah, his plan kind of fizzled really fast.
I kind of feel like though when there's bigger threats, Batman takes them more seriously than when it's just like some scientist with some dumb pill that makes you lazy.
Yeah,
You know, he's like tanks.
Yeah, that can do a lot of damage really fast. So he's.
I
gotta
mean, he
act quickly.
immediately whips out the bat plane
Mhm.
and just starts shooting at them. So
Yeah.
and trying to blow them up and set them on fire and like
Yep.
he takes it more seriously. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, I feel like we just said everything that I was going to say. The only
Yeah.
other thing I was going to say is that I really like reading Batman stories from the perspective of the criminals
Mhm.
because it feels fresh and different. You know, seeing it makes Batman feel more of like a terrifying force of nature.
Yeah, he's
and
a-
not just like a one-liner spouting guy who likes to punch people.
Yeah, he's like a presence in Gotham.
Yeah, he feels like a predator in this
Yeah.
story. Like he's going to get you no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's get into the panels here. You chose most of these panels. I got like the last three.
Yeah, I picked this first one because it's just like two of the guys like having a conversation with each other, but then on the top in the dialogue box, or sorry, it's the thought box or whatever you want to call it. He said, "I figured I was going to use my head for something else besides a hat rack, so I got me a gang." Like,
It's definitely some Scorsese dialogue there.
yeah, it really does. It has that noir element too because it's all
Yep.
done through flashback and they're like narrating the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And then I picked this one too because it's artistic. You know, it's not just like a panel of two guys standing in front of a jewelry store. It's shot from inside the jewelry store. They put the camera in the jewelry store and you see like the darkness that surrounds the window and like the shadows that are behind the panels that have all the jewelry.
Yeah.
And the word jewelry is spelled backwards, you know?
Mhm.
And then in the foreground a little bit, you see like a case full of like necklaces and diamonds. Like,
Yeah.
I just really like when they do stuff like this because this is something you take for granted a lot in modern comics, but it's not very commonplace in these old comics.
No, not
soon
at
it
all.
will start to be, but like whenever I see stuff like this, and even the next panel that I picked too, it just jumps out at me. It's very cinematic. This next one also, it's the three guys sitting around the table, and like after having finished this, it gives it even more context, and I like it even more because they're sitting around playing cards, you know, like smoking stuff, and then it's like everything is dark around them, and there's just like a little like beacon of light, like a little spotlight on them,
Yeah.
so that you're like, oh, they're in some kind of like crime den, you know, talking about their stories, swapping stories, and then it's revealed later that they're not.
No, these are the last cigarettes they'll smoke as quote unquote free men.
Right. This other one here. Wait, you picked this one, didn't you? You said you picked this one.
No,
You
I
sure?
got the last three.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even pick this one because of what we were talking about before that I won't mention because it's creepy. I actually picked this one because Batman's decking a guy in the face and his hat's flying off and his gun's flying out of his hand.
The creepy part is just the unfortunate placement of the guy's hand.
Yeah, as he's falling.
He's fallen, and it looked like he's grabbing Robin's crotch, but like he's a few feet away. It's just the optical.
They're definitely going
illusion.
for the funniness here, though, because yet again, you've got a bunch of things happening. You've got like the guy, his gun flying off and his hat flying off, and then like he's bumping into another guy who's going face first into another guy's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really funny. It's definitely drawn to be funny. It's not like a dynamic action sequence. It's like a funny fight sequence.
And the storyteller's like his head's in a little circle. It kind of like makes him look pathetic.
Yeah.
Like it drives home that he was fucked.
Yep.
And then of course we both would have picked this one just because how like classic Batman it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bat-Man classic.
The Bat-Man classic.
Yep. It's the scene where the bat flies out of the box.
Yeah.
To send a message to him.
There's like beads of sweat flying off that guy's head.
Yeah,
and he's shaking all over.
He's not having a good day.
No. I love the bat. It's drawn really cheesily, but it looks exactly like the bat symbol, which works great. I would have not liked it as much if it was like drawn more realistically and not just like, wah!
Yeah.
Good stuff. And the cheesy little like line of it flying out.
It's great.
Yeah, it definitely is. I had to pick this next panel too. Nobody else listening to this will care or understand, but in high school we used to do really stupid things, and one of them was like spin somebody around, and everybody would like try to dodge them. And Batman totally picks up one of these thugs and spins him around in a circle and knocks out 3 other thugs with his feet. So it just reminded me of high school, so I had to pick it.
It reminds me also like just a wrestling move. I don't know
It
a
definitely
specific
could be a
one,
wrestling
but it's
move,
definitely
too.
something somebody done.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love
like the Hardy Boys or something.
Something like that. I love the guy in the foreground. He's got hit in the head and he's just his tongue sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a classic when they do that.
The guy on the left looks like he's about to start singing a song.
He does. He's having a good time.
Yep.
Waltz me around again, Willie.
I'm sure that's some deep reference to something, but
maybe
nothing that I know. Batman's always spouting weird one-liners that are really oddly specific references to things from this era.
Yeah, some of them I'm wondering how much goes over our head, and we just don't get it. But I don't know. I feel like I would have at least understood a reference or two. But no, we'll see.
Yeah, I love this one too. Every single time Batman bursts through a door and the wood splinters all over the place, I pick that panel because why not?
The Batman in person.
the guy says the Batman, and Batman says in person. Like you would hear that while he's bursting through your door, all the wood cracking and flying everywhere. You probably wouldn't hear it.
I'm sure it happened. Like the dialogue happened after the wood fell.
Yeah, but I just love that Batman he's like a freaking steam train. He can just barrel through doors and windows and like, nothing can stop him.
It's that RoboCop effect.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So the next one I chose, not specifically for the fight that's happening in here. It's Batman and Robin fighting a bunch of goons, but I really like the Batmobile in the foreground. Like the Batmobile's got the face to it. What you call it earlier, like the
rammer.
The rammer, yeah.
It's like basically like a ramrod's not the right word for it, but
like a cow catcher almost.
Yeah, like what they used to break down castle doors back in the day.
But I really like just how like imposing it is, and it's just got it's got a real presence to it.
It's very creepy.
Yeah,
I love it.
So basically, I just chose it specifically for the Batmobile. And similarly, the next one I chose is of the Batplane later on in the issue, and it's just like it's going. It looks like it's bombing the one of the tanks here. And it's just a really good shot. Like just look at like explosion happening, and
I like the purple gas.
Yep.
I'm assuming
dropping
it's not gas. It's probably supposed to be like flammable liquid, but it looks like gas
or acid.
Yeah, I thought it basically was like a 2-part Molotov cocktail. He threw the
it's gasoline,
flammable stuff down first, then he threw down the thing to ignite it.
He's throwing gasoline. Yeah.
Oh, it actually says yeah. Go back to that other panel for a second though. Like, there's a lot to like about that panel.
Oh yeah, no, it's an excellent panel.
Yeah, I really like how Batman is like not even touching the ground. He's running so fast that he's like floating off the ground. Yet he's still uppercutting the guy in the face without making contact with his feet. And then the guy is like, he's basically just like ragdolling. Like the wiggly lines around his legs, he's just gonna drop immediately and hit the ground unconscious.
Yep.
good little details there. And then like seeing the super great and like the curb, like, you don't get stuff like that very often in these older ones.
And then the final panel I chose is during one of the fights. Robin is on a platform with wheels, and he's holding a mallet made of presumably metal,
It looks like a metal sledgehammer.
like a metal sledgehammer, and he's on the platform and is moving, and then he's chasing after a guy holding a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's a cue ball guy, and he's gonna hit that guy in the head, and that's definitely a kill.
You know, the other thing I was just thinking is, see those like shadows in the background?
Yeah.
Are those actually shadows, or are those two other people he just murdered with that hammer?
He just hit them. Yeah.
They're just like dying right now.
I mean, like those two. We don't know where he hit them.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe he did kill him. Maybe he just hit him like in the chest or back or somewhere where it did maybe a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But this guy, with the gun, is definitely like his brains are gonna be splattered.
He's about to take it in the head.
Yeah.
You know, Robin's actually saying too, we're having a triple feature today. So
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
He hit the other two guys, and the third guy's probably like, oh shit. He's like running, trying to not get killed.
Yeah. Yeah. So Robin's still killing people in 1942, folks.
Yep.
Yep. So what do we got next week?
We got Batman number 8, story number 2, The Strange Case of Professor Radium, which looks like a throwback to the old Professor Hugo Strange. Or actually, I wrote Dr. Professor Hugo Strange.
Yeah, I
think
saw
is funny.
the splash page of that, and it looks really fucking cool.
It looks really damn similar to the one where Batman's swinging into the window and Hugo Strange is like experimenting on the table.
Yeah.
And then also Detective Comics 62, Laugh Town Laugh. Another Joker story already.
Yeah, we think it's probably gonna get more in the sillier Joker era.
It's fine with me.
We'll see. We'll see how everything goes.
Yep.
Well, that does it for this week's episode of Become a Bat. Thank you so much for listening. Send us a review on whatever platform you listen to us on. We are out of here. Good night.
Later, guys.